Hi everyone, welcome to this new episode of the Knowledge Espresso. I am today with Nimit Mehta, who's the CEO of TopQuadrant. Nimit, you gave a talk recently at KGC, and we're going to keep the conversation going. How are you?
Well, wonderful. Thanks for having me here, Francois.
So, Nimit, my first question for you: we've known each other from for a year, right? It's like we met last year at KGC. We never had the opportunity to go into the details of how you end up joining Top Quadrant. So you joined as a CEO. The company was founded many years ago. What what made you attracted by a knowledge graph product company? What was the thing that made you want to take that role?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the question, and not often do I get it. So thanks for asking it. At the root of it, I, it was the people, and I say that in the broadest and the narrowest sense. So my background is I was an engineer, and I
You were an engineer in what domain?
in the education domain. So I was an education technologist. I was working in helping build enterprise software for honestly education. My original background is I was a high school teacher way back in the day, and both being undertrained as being an engineer and also wanting to build really cool things, found my way into education and technology in the intersection. And in that time, after leading a tech team there, was introduced and kind of became a pretty, I would say, low quality, maybe low code ontologist, managing data and how to actually discover and use data. And so we're building ERP systems for education organizations across the world, but really it's around like university systems and managing the sensitivity of data, managing all the information that comes in and out. The data model is pretty complicated, and moreover, it doesn't get as much love as a lot of other industries. So, you can imagine the intersection of a big problem and a big need, and that's where we were. And through that time is when I got first exposed to the world of knowledge graphs, its power in being able to manage data and discover. And some of the great people that work in the industry, I would often reach out to people who I found online who knew about ontologies and applications and building knowledge graphs and would just learn on my own. And got introduced to some of the most interesting, most well meaning engineers I could. Um, Over time, I was inspired by those people. And as later in my career, got introduced to the founders, the former founders, still the founders of Top Quadrant. Three incredible people, smart, driven, people who are at the beginning of the founding of the space. Two, which we were just talking about, Irene and Ralph, and another one named Robert, all of whom had built Top Quadrant really out of their own will and power. And after advising them for a bit, I think to their credit, they recognized that there was a need for new leadership. They're all kind of at the end of their careers, but also had done so much work to help build the space, kind of like what you're doing right now, Francois. But we sit on the shoulder of their hard work, and so the excitement was, as I said, the people, but the people who we were not only supporting are knowledge graph engineers, on architects, and ontologists, people who we really just find a lot of passion, but also the legacy of the three founders here. And so after advising them for about almost a year and change, we made the decision to support them in a leadership transition. They are advisors of the company still, but it was inspiring because of both seeing where the market was moving and the opportunity to actually help support what we would call an underloved side of the data industry that is going to be growing and is going to need a lot of good tooling and support. And myself, my partner Amar, and others were up for the challenge.
That sounds great. Yes, it must feel like having superpowers, like having this great product that is already the technical background, the all the effort that was put in building the foundation of that product is so amazing, very deep. So that must be great to be there and to take that. And when you joined, I think there was already the turn from or from a purely ontology modeling, knowledge graph, engineering platform towards a data management, enterprise data management platform that had already started, right? And so you took that and you accelerated that. Do you want to say a few words about your vision for the platform and
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful. It
where
kind of starts with
things are
you're right.
going?
The 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 initial transition. There's really three phases of our organization, and we're still in kind of the middle of that. Is really going from tool set, and this is actually a foundation for the talk today. But from a tool set, good modeling, best in class collaboration, recognizing that there's actually a deep application in the enterprise data management and governance, and so that transition began. Now, data governance is a pretty wide area. But if you were to broadly summarize it down, it's around making sure you have core data or master data managed and governed. You have a data quality engine and understanding and management of that, and then also access management control, while also governing discovery. Right? Those are the four big areas that we see around data management. There's a whole bunch of sub areas that come out of that, and knowledge graphs knowledge graphs not only in the metadata sense but also managing instance data really fit all those quite well, especially because of the native structure, flexibility, extensibility, enabling data to remain in source, all the things that we know we can do. It's a perfect use case. Over time, and we can talk a little bit more about this at the end, really where the company is we support through that lens, we support 15% of the Fortune 500. We are the enterprise choice when it comes to collaborative knowledge graph creation, knowledge graph and ontology creation, but not just for the creation of it, but it's for use. And so our company motto and our company vision statement is we are about getting our partners the most value out of their data as possible. And that is not only just very cool technology and architecture. That's not enough for us. For us, it's about business value, tying to organizational and corporate outcomes, being able to hang our hat on the value we create and drive deeper and accelerating that faster. So particularly in life sciences, life sciences, financial services, and the media and telecom space. That's what we're all about.
Sounds good. So now let's move a little bit and come back to your talk. So you talked on May 8th, if I'm right, or 9th, at
It's
the
already
knowledge.
a month. Wow.
It's a month, yeah, just a month ago, just about a month ago, at the Knowledge Graph conference. And your talk was focused on the messaging and how to sell knowledge graph projects, right? And there were a number of presentations on this topic. I can mention the one from Tim Einstein, who was focusing on the errors not to do when you talk a knowledge graph in a business. And yeah, I think your talk was really business enterprise related. You are part of a large organization. You see some use cases for knowledge technologies, and how do you go out and and sell those ideas? And especially you mentioned three different use cases. Maybe you want to say a few words about this three different not use cases but scenarios of three persons working in large organizations, and how do you need to adapt your discourse in order not to focus on the technology, but on the business use case or on the solution or what the technology enables, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think the general principle is, as I said, we have been the TopQuadrant helps. I mean, this is our great team, and our technology helps. Um, over 50 different deployments at any one time of pretty ambitious business moving applications that are powered by knowledge graphs. And we say powered by because powered knowledge graphs are the how, they're not the end game. And I'll be honest, we've won a lot, but we've lost a few too. We've lost a lot of certain moments and cases when we haven't been able to bring the right team along at our client side or customer side, when they've not been able to make that case, and when frankly they aren't able to deliver real tangible business value. Even the highest momentum moments, making sure that they are able to tie the work that they do to real outcomes is a challenge. And so the talk was really about recognizing that there's a few patterns that I'm not saying there's so many talks about business case, and we're going to keep doing it because it's so important. But sometimes it can sound like drivel because just, people say business case, make the case. This is kind of over and above that, which is recognizing that there's actually two cases to be made. And that was the whole concept of talking about this as a religion.
Mm-hmm. So separating this in two cases. So when you say there are actually two cases, what do you mean?
Well, so the title of the talk was, and we've got a ton of significant interest in the follow-ups and talks. So I'm really happy to be talking about it today. But the first piece was just, it was called, I think it said, don't stop selling religion and start selling value. And this idea that knowledge graphs are a religion that we all ascribe to, right? And I think our religion is growing, right? The belief that all religions, not to be kind of quip about it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the right way. We all believe it's the right way to manage your data. And we have internal debates. We have clear principles and tenets. We have a few areas we're working on. And we have supporting tools and advice and folks who are experts in this religion on how to do that thing we call the right way. And that's not bad, right? There's nothing wrong inherently with that, right? And typically what that yields is really powerful architecture arguments. Manage your data with knowledge graphs. Well, there's a very common process here, which is you sell that religion, you package it with all the benefits that the religion, like any religious discussion would have, is all the benefits that the religion has. You do these three things, you can get this outcome, that sort of thing. You build a coalition of believers, and you have people come together and say, we all believe internally inside my organization, let's go ahead and drive value. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, we potentially find business uses and needs, right? That's like how an architectural discussion goes. Take that and take that analogy and flip it to any architectural principle. And when I say architecture, I mean anything that doesn't say, here is the direct impact to your end user, then you're still talking architecture. So for example, data products, things that we hear on data fabric, right? Data mesh, fair data. All of these are really important religious principles. Build a religion, go find all the benefits. Why is it fair data better? Well, it's interoperable and usable and findable, and everyone can get it. Build that coalition where everyone inside your life sciences organization agrees upon fair data is the right way. Typically, if you look around that room, there are a lot of technologists and very few business people. Mm-hmm. And then find that business need. Mm-hmm. And that's it. We're really skilled at that. We're effective at that. Mm-hmm. Sorry, go ahead, jump in.
No, so I'm thinking about my own experience working, in enterprise and as a consultant, and the realization is that, religiously you you believe that everyone should be converted, right? So by that I mean, any large organization should have a large enterprise knowledge graph that manages all the data, right? So and everything tied together, the data catalog, tied to the data sets and searchable, the data itself being integrated, interlinked with ontologies governing it, et cetera, et cetera. But when you enter reality, you realize that you have to start somewhere, right? And provide value somewhere. Start, in a defined application and have success somewhere and expand from there. How does that fit in your framework?
Yeah, well, it's very well, and it's not my framework. Again, this is me just sharing to the space. TopQuadrant was saying, hey, this is what we're seeing. So first, that religious / architectural or technical conversation is critically important. Don't forget it. Some people with business conversation, they'll come in and say, forget about that. You need to do this other thing. That's super important because there are a lot of people who we don't want to leave behind when it comes to architecture and explaining and understanding. The people who actually engage their left brain and are rationally engaging, how do you design the most effective and efficient architecture to drive great data systems. The challenge is, as you said, if they're not believers, frankly, our whole industry is not good at bringing them along. Right? People want to feel like they are smart and that they are worthy. And more importantly, a lot of times the people who are not believers in the world of semantics have problems that we can help them on and often have budgets. And so, and that's just because technical users want an open box, business users want a closed box. They want to know not how it's done, they just want to know that it's done. So, go ahead.
Is that because it's a fight against another religion? Is that the SQL believers don't want to switch to anything else? What is the main challenge to sell semantic architecture and design and so on?
I'm not in everyone's mind, but if I were to guess, it's and having observed this, competing priorities. It's there are, for someone who doesn't understand the technology, we sometimes talk past them and we don't give them an understanding that, hey, it's less about how it's done, but I got this one and I can take care of this one for you. Also, it's related to the fact that they've been burned a lot of times. Too, I have a lot of empathy for the fact that there's a software graveyard in every large organization. Was it 40% of all deployments fail in every enterprise software? So, you can imagine a business user is like, I don't really care what your religion is in a good way. I have goals and outcomes. I have a stock price, or I have a drug to get to market, or I have some fraud to get rid of in my organization, or I have to avoid this fund. I don't care how it gets done. I just want to know it gets done really well so I can go do the things that I know I need to go do. And that's where the root of this comes, where you're going to someone who has urgency of seeing an outcome. And we're going to them and say, what's going to be so great for you is you get findable, reusable data. They need someone to say, I'll take that off your plate. I will cover that. And that is a scary proposition, because it puts an architect and technologist like us on the hook for something that we're not used to being responsible for.
So that brings me to my next question. How, as a semantic architect, a knowledge engineer, how do I learn how to speak the right discourse, right? How can I evolve and have the right talk to business people and SMEs?
Yeah, this is kind of the goal here is one pattern we see. It's not the only way, but there's one pattern that's actually, you'll often hear people say you need to do something wildly different. And a lot of times our champions, our customers who are those engineers and those technologists, really don't like making the case. They say that's for someone else to take care of. But the best ones recognize that it's actually just the same story, just flipped in order. So instead of selling the religion, talking about the benefits, building a team, and then tying the business outcome, it's taking the same content and code switching. This idea of flipping it when the room requires something different, flipping it upside down and saying, actually assessing what pain you are seeing across your organization and articulating. The second piece is actually selling that pain. So be it, let's say our systems are not synchronized. What does that actually mean? It means that we're spending a lot of time wrangling data. It means that we cannot execute marketing campaigns efficiently, or we can't do analyses holistically. And then just finding every person and build a coalition around that pain, right? Sales is often selling pain, not selling an answer. But people don't even want to know what vitamin they need to take. They want to know what pain they have, that you understand them. And then they want a painkiller, right? And that's the whole idea. Forget about vitamins. Let's talk about painkillers. So package that as a painkiller. So figure out the pain, build a coalition, package what you're offering as a painkiller, and let the religion talk for itself. Someone asks you, how did that come? Say, I was able to get that done through semantics. Maybe it'd be useful to actually talk about an example. That be good?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So here's an example of what I mean, right? We had really wonderful guy, Joaquin. He's at top 3 pharmaceutical company in the world, and he's the head of reference and master data. Over 4 years, he spent the time to build a data product marketplace that had the central source of truth for every core taxonomy, code list, and reference data set that was needed by the medical affairs department. His system helped drive velocity in the COVID vaccine creation process. He was really annoyed. He in his view, to your point, every data set, every workflow could and should be mapped to the master data that was in his systems. It was his baby, and his team was really excited about it. He was really frustrated when different systems, not outside of the medical affairs, 2 inside research and development, 1 in commercial, and 2 in manufacturing, right? Really the whole gamut of the pharmaceutical world, created their own systems. And each sometimes duplicating or replicating the work that he had done, and sometimes even worse, changing definitions. So that whole source of truth really breaking down. This happened he was seeing a lot of this activity about 8 months ago. And in that market, he was also worried about, hey, what's going to happen to my job with reorgs happening? It was really a scary time. He recognized he had sold his organization on a fair data principle, where you have your control vocabularies all harmonized, that you had a data mesh, that you had centralized governance, so that you had one location, any edits that happened, there's a full lineage, high control, and that there were the inputs and outputs of every data workflow was fair aligned. So it was really exciting, but one would consider those all. He recognized all of those are vitamins. No one cares necessarily, but the business users didn't care that we had fair principles all up and down their data systems. They, in each of their business units, had to get something done. What he recognized is that flipping these benefits, taking these vitamins, say, why does this benefit matter? And flipping them to the pains that trial data was not harmonized, trial data was not fed across and up to R&D to ensure a single harmonized data model. And then regulatory reporting across the entire data pipeline was costing no less than $10 million per report per year. And he recognized one thing, it's all a data problem, and packaged his whole system, his beautiful master data system, wiped the name and said it's automated regulatory reporting. And sure, it could be reductive, but it had a real tangible outcome here. His process then, he was able to sell the pain of everyone had regulatory reports that he needed to get done. And he found all the people, and he got more people than he thought, that needed their reports done fast, right? I think if a drug gets done at, one day, it takes 12 weeks to get a report done to get it to market. He was able to lower that down to 2 weeks, getting visibility across the R&D world, getting visibility into the CTO's office and the CDO's office, and more importantly, pulling in the R&D data sets into his world. So now he was able to make the convincing argument that his religious argument of data harmonization across business units was able to be delivered. So that's a starting point. Someone who was able to take this and by their own, but they weren't coached on this. They were able to figure this out that, hey, we are not going to get successful if we don't make sure we bring other people along.
That sounds great. Well, thank you very much, Nimit, for this. This is exciting. Any TopQuadrant news? Any feature announcements? What's coming up?
Great question, and I love it. So one of the themes, and I'm curious actually what you felt at the KGC. It's one of my favorite conferences. One of the themes that we were seeing a lot of, there was a lot of business casing right now, given the market and the needs of people in driving their initiatives. But there was also a lot of excitement, continued excitement of AI, right? And like markedly different than the year before, where it was still early days, both with the market kind of contracting while also AI increasing in interest. It's exciting to see people really getting good glasses on and not just saying AI for everything, but what specifically you'd want to get done. Now, TopQuadrant, we've launched I'm really excited about 2 big things. One is our AI fundamentals, or our foundations packages, which are knowledge graphs powered by AI, one of the things you've heard for years and years is it's hard to stand up, or the perception that KGs are really hard to stand up. Building an ontology is really hard to stand up and get going. We have 300 inbuilt ontologies, 22 asset collections, and our current model is now unlimited user. So it's just about getting in and up and running as fast as possible, which is quite exciting. We also have had 2 AI foundation packages that are intelligent crosswalking and intelligent inferencing to enable you to stand up and connect data sets really quickly, and then vector store powered classifying and tagging. So, AI tools that'll help you move faster and save time. The second piece is actually this past month, we launched our two new value accelerators. One is around medical term harmonization, and the other is policy enforcement, right? Making sure that you can get value off the ground. So for a pretty small fee, you're able to take whatever you have and actually layer on a policy like GDPR or CCPA with limited work. And then similarly in the medical term world, we just demonstrated this past week, this actually built alongside the organization I just mentioned. Coming up on the radar, continuing to drive value through accelerators. So identifying use cases and only caring about the outcomes we drive. And then next release will actually, I think I'm allowed to say this now, it'll include graph RAG capabilities. So taking the enterprise grade modeling tool that all enterprises know and are using, and being able to bring your own LLM, either inbuilt at home or kind of off the market, and with a few connective APIs and integrations, being able to train it relatively efficiently. I think there was an article that GraphRag is 20 to 40% more accurate than any other type, but it's really hard. To your point earlier, said this is really difficult stuff, or perceived difficult to get started. We will make that effectively obsolete. So we're excited to see that come up as we enter the next couple of releases.
Very cool. All right. Well, thank you, Nimit, for your time. That was a great conversation. I've just learned before we press the record button that we are neighbors. So I'll keep an eye open when I'll take a walk. Maybe we'll see each other.
Absolutely. Well, I love that.
Hope to see you soon.
If anyone needs to reach out to me directly at nimit@topquadrant.com. And excited to hear all the cool things that people build. Thank you again, Francois.
Bye, Nimit.